In this next video, we're going to be looking at the third angles theorem. So the third angles theorem states that if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the third angles are also congruent. So that kind of makes sense. We know that by the triangle sum theorem that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So if two of the angles are equal to two of the other angles, like for instance, if this was 53 degrees, and this was 87 degrees, and same with these. That automatically means that angle C has to equal angle F because all three angles need to add up to being 180. So we can use this when we're starting to prove things, in that if we have two angles congruent to two angles in another triangle, we can automatically then say by the third angles theorem that those third angles are congruent. So one way you can say this is angle A is congruent to angle D, and angle B is congruent to angle E. Then angle C is congruent to angle F. So let's look at some examples of using this third angles theorem. So for number one, I want to find the measure of angle BDC. So remember how to find that angle and saying BDC. So I'm wanting to know what this full angle is right here. And so I know a couple of different things. I know that these two angles are congruent, and I know that these two angles are congruent. Looking at it right now, it looks a little bit confusing, but if you kind of look at it, you can see that these are really just two triangles overlapped together. So I'm going to go ahead and redraw this, but separating these triangles out. So I really have a triangle ADC, where I know I have arc marks here. This one's 45 degrees. That one's 30 degrees. So I kind of just slid this out. And then I also have this BDC here. I'll draw that one over here. And so I know that this angle right here has the two arc marks. Angle B has the one. And I'm wanting to find what angle D is. This is my goal here. It's angle BDC. So I see I have two angles congruent to two angles of another triangle. And so I know that means that the third angles are also congruent. So I know that measure of angles, that angle C is congruent to angle D. Here, let's use the three letters. Angle ACD is congruent to angle BDC by third angles theorem. So now I need to actually find what this angle measure is, since I know that these two are going to be congruent to each other. Well, I know that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. And so to find what measure of angle C is, I can create my equation that measure of angle C plus 45 plus 30 is equal to 180. And then when I subtract 75, I get that measure of angle C is equal to 105. Well, I know that measure of angle C is equal to BDC. So then, therefore, that means that the measure of angle BDC is equal to 105 degrees. Okay, let's try another one. Here I want to find the measure of angle P. And so now these two triangles are already separated. So looking at this, I see that I have an congruent angle here. These are both going to be 52 degrees. And then I see that both of these also have a right angle. So I know that two angles are congruent to two angles of another triangle. So by my third angles theorem, I can then say that angle B is congruent to angle P. So now I need to find the measure of angle B. Well, remember from the correlated to triangle sum theorem, with these right triangles, since this is 90, then the other two angles must add up to 90 as well. So I have that the measure of angle B plus 52 is equal to 90. Subtract 52. And I get that the measure of angle B is equal to 38 degrees. And since angle B is congruent to angle P, that means that the measure of angle P is also equal to 38 degrees.